Hi, folks. Here we are in week 8, our second to last module in Use Permaculture to Find Your Niche. And we are circling around. We've been going back through and reviewing, and hopefully by now you're starting to get a real good idea of which of your ideas you want to focus on right now, which seem most needed by the community, and which seem like things that people might pay you for, and also connect to your passion and your desires and what you really want to do, and also connect to your experience and your skill set. So we've been playing with all this, and next week we will wrap it all up and tighten up some of those loose ends and make sure that you are set to continue. But this week I want to take a few minutes to talk about the power of launching an idea that can take off on its own. So Food Not Lawns, which I started in 1999, is a perfect example of that. We started this project and it sustained us and it did what we wanted it to do, and I was able to make it do something for me as I was doing something for it, but then also it had this freedom to go off, and there's over 50 autonomous chapters of Food Not Lawns around the world, and I don't do anything to control them. I mean, I'm there for them, but I'm really not the center of it. Like they have their own thing that they do. And same with Food Not Bombs, which Food Not Lawns was spawned from. So that was started by Keith McHenry and a handful of colleagues back in the 80s. And now there's hundreds of Food Not Bombs chapters all over the world. Keith interacts with some as he wants to. He tours when he wants to. He has access to that idea and is able to make it work for himself, but also the community is free to do as it wants. So there's lots of examples of projects like this that were started by one person and are now just autonomous. And I think it's a really beautiful thing to do with an idea. And then on the other side of that, or sort of two sides of the same coin, is that you can also create sort of a passive income for yourself. So if you're taking this course because you want to be more of an entrepreneur, you're starting to build an online business or something, then, something that can sort of run on its own, an autonomous system. And that's why we've been putting a lot of energy every single module of this course. We spend one day focused on systems because it's so important. And that's how you can create passive income for yourself, which is nice, or semi-passive. There's really no such thing as passive income because you always have to maintain your systems. So that's what we're looking at this time, is autonomy. And, in permaculture, the principle of autonomy is something that we use all the time. Natural succession, making the least change for the greatest effect. And doing something like planting a flower that will self-seed. And every year, once you introduce that flower into your garden, you will always have those flowers in your garden. Or planting perennials that just produce fruit year after year with minimal maintenance. So this is this principle of autonomy coming into play, and it's really helpful principle to use in our own work and as we not just find but sort of occupy our niche. So there's 5 key elements that I've written down here that are key elements to an idea that can take off on its own. So if you think about all of these different ideas that not just a meme, like a cute saying, but an actual project that people have done. So there's Food Not Bombs, there's Earth First, there's Food Not Lawns, there's permaculture. There's so many things, ideas that people have put out into the world that have taken off on their own. And so there's 5 key elements to that. So the first one is it has a catchy name that makes people say, oh my God, that's totally how I feel too. That's really important. So that's something that all of these projects have in common. It has to have a catchy name that tells people exactly what it is in a unique and catchy way. It has to have a specific focus. So that means that it's in a niche. So each of these ideas is about something. Food Not Bombs is about feeding people for free. The Food is Free project is about giving away food on the street corner. Food Not Lawns is about turning your yard into a garden. Earth First is about defending wild places. So it has a catchy name. It has a specific focus. Number 3 is doesn't try to do too much. So that's really important. You're not going to be able to encapsulate everything that you want to do in your entire life and for the whole world in one idea. And it's important not to try to do that because then it gets kind of watered down. So permaculture does sort of try to do that. It proposes this whole systems design, which is really cool. But permaculture doesn't, for example, try to teach people how to be a painter or how to be a musician or you see what I'm saying here? It's still really specific. It's still ultimately about design. So yeah, you could design your song or you could design your painting using permaculture principles like we're designing our niche, but ultimately permaculture, as it was put out into the world and as it took off on its own in this autonomous way, was about landscape design and sustainability. So number 4, you're not attached to getting credit for it, though you will get credit for it, and you'll get more credit for it and more yield from this idea that you launch into the world if you make sure to cover number 5, which is optional. So that's where the systems come in. So let's just recap real quick. Elements of an idea that can take off on its own. 1, it has a catchy name that makes people say, oh my God, that's totally how I feel right now. Number 2, it's a specific focus and it's in a specific niche. Number 3, it doesn't try to do too much. Number 4, you're not attached to getting credit for it, though you will get credit for it more effectively if you set up the systems from the beginning, which is number 5. And this is also where you decide how autonomous you want it to be, how passive you want that income stream to be. Obviously, the more active you are, the higher the income. You've set up a system that provides a yield for you. At the same time, it promotes the idea. So the simplest example of this would be t-shirts. So you can start a project called Food Not Bombs. That's really cool. But then when you make t-shirts that say Food Not Bombs and you sell those, you get money from selling the t-shirts, and people are now wearing your Food Not Bombs t-shirt. And the idea spreads and people take off on its own. You set up a system that provides a yield for you. At the same time, it promotes the idea. So branded products, basically, as cheesy as it sounds, it works and it's real and people have been doing it for decades, centuries probably. That's what the Bible was all about. It's a branded product that spread an idea. But you can also, now that we have the internet, online courses, publications, you can set up a lot of stuff that doesn't cost you a lot of money to create or distribute, and you can set up autonomous systems of distribution that help people solve problems, promote your idea, and bring you a yield. So that's my basic introduction to this module. And we're going to go through step by step and play with some of these ideas. And let me know what you think, and talk to you soon.